Namaste students, my name is JVS Dr. Neeraj Dhuria, Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Science, Jayati Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. So in this lecture, we are going to study the constancy or stereotype, or you can say the stereotypic behavior. And this belongs to the subject behavioral science. In the previous lectures, we have discussed the fixed action patterns. What are the fixed action pattern? What are different type of fixed action pattern? What is the basic phenomena? After that, what are the examples of the fixed action pattern we have studied? Okay, so in this lecture, the topic is the stereotypic behavior. What is the stereotype or stereotypic behavior? So in one word, if I want to explain that what is the stereotypic behavior, then it is the abnormal behavior. Okay, so when one have an abnormal behavior in the abnormal conditions, okay, if everything is normal, if everything is fine, then animals or the humans will behave normal. And if it is not the adequate conditions, adequate environment for that, it will behave abnormal. So it is very frequently seen in the laboratory primates or the laboratory animals, because primates like monkeys, chimpanzees, etc., they live in the wild, and you kept in them in the cage. So obviously that is not a perfect place, that is not favorable condition, that is not there is not freedom for the animals, so they act abnormally, and the abnormal behaviors are known as the stereotypic behavior. So this is very rarely seen in the wild animals, okay, and it is very common in the laboratory animals, specifically in the primates. Okay, so it is considered an indication of the poor psychological well-being in the animals. Okay, so the environment affect our psychology. If you are caged in a cage, so because the environment is changed, because it is a closed environment, it is restricted environment, so it will affect your psychological status. Okay, and after some time you will also behave like stereotypically, or you will behave abnormally. Okay, so that are the psychological poor indication of the poor psychological status. Okay, so it is seen in the captive animals, but not in wild animals. And if it is so, attention has been focused on the situations in which these behaviors develops. Okay, so what can we do if some captive animal behaving stereotypically? So you have to change something in their environment. Either you have to increase the cage size, or either you have to put them in some groups, or you have to give them some adequate foods, etc. So something has to be done. So attention has to be focused on the animals if they are behaving stereotypically, or they are showing the stereotypic behavior. So what are the possible environmental causes for the stereotypic behavior? So in the research for causes, the emphasis historically has been placed on an animal's environment. Okay, so it has been believed that the stereotypic behaviors will develop in the deficient environment condition. So environment conditions have to be changed in that condition. Okay, so it is required for the animal to be very calm and very natural. because if it is psychologically unfit, they are psychologically disturbed, they are having the stereotypic behavior, so you cannot perform the experiment on them. And if you are performing the experiment on them, or they are, if they are related with the psychological experiment or some mental experiment, ability of the brain, or some behavioral experiment, so it will be very difficult to interpret the results. It will be very difficult to perform the experiments. Okay, so the animal should be in very good condition, very normal condition. It have to be seen if they are behaving this stereotypically, so their environment should be changed. Okay, so several aspects are there of the captive environment of laboratory primates have been investigated. These include some changes should be done, and what changes could be done for in the captive cage of the captive animal. So you, first of all, you have to put the emphasis on that, is the cage size is okay or not. If it is not fine, you should increase the cage size so that it can be somewhat free for the animal. Then housing type should be focused. Or they are living individually, or versus they are in the pairing or in groups. Okay, so it should be kept in mind. So the animals should be kept in group or individually, depends on the condition of the environment or the condition of that particular animal. You have to also take care about the stress condition of the animal, and the lack of environmental complexity also force the animals to behave like that, because in the natural conditions, the environment are very complex, very the lakes are there, the rivers are there, plants are there, different types of plants are there, different animals are there. Okay, so the natural environment is very complex, but in the cage it is very monotonous type of the environment. So you may increase the complexity of the cage. Okay, if it is a wild animal in the zoo or in the cage, you can first increase the cage size, and then you can put some big stones or some small plants in that, so you can increase the complexity. So that will be somewhat natural to the captive animal. Okay, so what is the stereotypic behavior? You have I think you have very much clear about that. So it is defined as the repetitive and invariant behavior pattern with no obvious goal or the function. Okay, so you have studied that. Okay, it is the abnormal behavior. So what type of abnormal behavior they perform? So this is very common, that they have some repetitive behavior. Means if they are walking, then they will keep walking from one side to another side. Okay, and invariant means there is no variation in their behavior. So only one pattern will be followed for 1 minute to several minutes. Okay, with no obvious goal, means there is no goal for them, but they are doing the same behavior for a long time. Okay, so no obvious goal is there, no obvious function is for that. So a wide range of animals from the carnivores to the polar bears or to humans can exhibit these stereotypes. Okay, so many different kinds of stereotype behavior have been defined and examined. So I have discussed the one type of the stereotypic behavior, but there are many types of the stereotypic behaviors are there. So that includes some examples like crib biting. Okay, and then wind sucking by the horses, the eye rolling of the wheel cows, then chewing in the pigs, and jumping in the bank wolves. So these are the most commonly observed stereotypic behaviors in the animals. Okay, so these stereotypes may be um, oral, or the involve the bizarre posture or the prolonged locomotion. Okay, so these were the some of the examples of the stereotypic behavior. Okay, so a very good example of the stereotype behavior is pacing, and this term is used to describe an animal that walks in a distinct, unchanging pattern within its cage. Okay, so it is very common in for the bears. Okay, or you can see the elephants. They are hanging their head for a long time from one side to another side. Okay, so that is also example of the stereotypic behavior. So the walking from one side to another side, it also have some different types of walking. So what types that it can range in speed. Some walk very slow from one side to another side continuously, and deliberate or very quick trotting is also there. Okay, so it may involve only a few circuits, or it may be prolonged or lasting for several minutes. So this pattern also have varieties. It may be variety in this form of the speed, in form of the number of circuits they cover. Okay, so this was like this. The stereotypic behavior is evaluated in terms of the frequency and duration. So there are two types of measure in the stereotypic behavior. One is the frequency, means how frequent it is performing that particular behavior. In 1 minute, how many rounds it will cover. So that is the frequency. And duration, to how long. Is it for 1 minute? Is it for 2 minutes? Is it for 3 minutes? Or is it for 10 minutes? So it is measured or evaluated on the basis of the frequency and the duration. So okay, that was all about the stereotypic behavior or constancy. So in this lecture we have discussed what is the stereotype. It is the abnormal behavior, and where it is observed. Generally it is observed in the primates, but in other animals also. So it is because of the poor psychological status, and it is generally found in the captive animals, and the possible cause is the animals environment and the deficient environment. Okay, so what can be done? And you can change the environment. You can increase the size of the cage, increase the status that it is you can increase the complexity of the cage. Okay, so generally the stereotypic behavior evaluated in two forms. One is the frequency and second is the duration. Okay, so it was all about the stereotypic behavior. I think it is very much clear to you, and hope you are satisfied with this digital session. If you have any query, you can write in the comment box. I will try to resolve that. And this session is powered by Digital Version 2, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Thank you.